Good morning, Vikings fans. Welcome to the Yellow Horn. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're going to look at what went wrong last night against the Lions. You look at the final score and say probably everything. Um, but that being said, the defense actually did hold their own for the most part. We'll get to that a little bit later, but today we're just going to review everything across the board. Let's start on the offense. First off, Sam Darnold played like crap. There's no way around it. And, if you do follow me on Twitter, X, or whatever, I've been a big Sam Darnold. Um, I've backed Sam Darnold. I've said, if this team makes a deep playoff run to franchise tag him and run it back with them. And I still stand by that. But that's, again, all predicate on him making a deep playoff run. And if anything, if him on the big stage is what we saw last night, then yeah, the team just go ahead and start JJ McCarthy next year if he's healthy. Um, we can't have another repeat of last night. Um, and we'll start there. Sam Darnold was just off all night long. He never got comfortable. He never got set. His were sailing on him, and that's been an ongoing thing with him. I would say now for probably a month, maybe most of the season. A lot of his throws come off very, very high. His receivers take a lot of unnecessary hits because of it. Um, and last night was just a perfect example of it. Just nothing was working for Sam. His throws were off. He looked shaky in the pocket. Um, he wasn't seeing the field, holding the ball too long, which has been a knock on him all season. And part of that is coaching. Um, we'll get to that a little bit later. Those two kind of go hand in hand. I took a lot of heat last night on Twitter when I said, the coaching staff didn't do Sam any favors, and they didn't. But we'll talk about the coaching staff in a minute. Sam Darnold, he wasn't ready for that game. He wasn't ready for that stage. Um, you know, Sam has to learn when the deep ball's not there. Um, just get rid of it. He didn't have any crazy turnovers last night, but you need to do something. Like at some point, you have to make a decision. Like, all right, just throw it away to live, fight another day, or I would love to see Sam use his legs more. Like he's got them. Like you go back and you look at some of the plays last night, especially in the red zone where it broke down. There was lanes for Sam to run, and I get it. You want your QB to keep their eyes downfield, but at some point you got to make a choice to run. You cannot sit back there for 4 to 5 seconds hoping that somebody's going to get open, and then when they do, you're on the run and make a crappy throw. I mean, we saw that time and time again last night. I think they were in the red zone for 11 plays, and 9 of them were throwing. That's an issue. And again, that goes back to the coaching and the plays. But yeah, Sam melted on the biggest stage. Um, and um, he did nothing to change how people felt about him and who he is. And that's it. He did it in front of a national audience. So, people will be dunking on him all day today to say, that's who he is. That's who we knew he was. That's why you don't spend, 40 mil a year on him. That's why you don't give him an extension. People are dunking on those right now. And rightfully so. They've earned that. Sam, again, melted in the biggest stage. Um, Switching over to the defense. On the offense, I will say, the running game was working. I don't know why we got away from it. Aaron Jones is banged up. We saw that. He came out of the locker room late at half. Cam Akers had that huge run. Um, they have playmakers in the backfield. They just don't use them enough. And again, that's comes down to coaching, and we'll talk on that and touch on it in a minute. The defense is what the defense is at this point. Brian Flores can't do any more with the talent that he has on defense. He runs his scheme very, very well, and they held their own for the majority of the game. Eventually, they were going to break. That's just the way the Lions break you down. They grind and grind and grind until the end of the game, and then you break. Especially when the offense couldn't get anything going. The defense played about as well as they could. Um, but the holes are still there, and Jared Goff knows how to beat Brian Flores. Ben Johnson knows how to beat a Brian Flores defense. If Flores can't get pressure with his front 3 or 4 and has to bring people up into the A gap, those linebackers, that leaves a huge void in the middle of the field. And I don't care who your linebackers are, they're not going to be able to stay in coverage, and that's why he runs a lot of zone. You see those tight ends run those seam routes, and they're in between the corners and the middle linebacker. Touchdown was or his touchdown, it was a simple seam route. Linebacker couldn't get there. Jared Goff took care of it. I don't, again, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Cashman. I know they don't use pace and coverage, but Van Ginkel, it's just you're not you can't keep a linebacker on a running back in coverage for a very long period of time. The Vikings could not get home last night. They did knock him down quite a bit and pressure him, but he just ate it up. He sat in there and took the pocket. Basically, he should have been doing what Sam Darnold should have been doing what Jared Goff was doing. That should have been the same game plan. When that blitz comes, you attack the middle of the field. Um, but the defense did as well as they could. I am nervous going into next week's game against Cooper Cup and Puka because they run more middle routes, crossing routes, quick plays than the Lions do. So that with this defense, that scares me. Um, you know, just defense is what it is. They're going to get their takeaways. They need to have a swagger to them. They need to get to the backfield, but they did all they could, and they deserved better than what they got from the offense. Special teams, we have issues with Will. Say what you will, the injury or whatever, but kicking the ball out of bounds at the half before the half and giving up 3 points because of that, that can't happen, and that's 2 weeks in a row now. Um, Even earlier in the game, I think it was the opening kickoff. That one almost sailed out of bounds. Um, I do think the Vikings have a kicking issue. I would not be shocked if they bring somebody in this week or if an injury pops up. But Will's not right. That 52-yarder he pushed right. The 51-yarder looked fine. It was down the middle, no issue. But the 52-yarder he pushed right. The out of bounds kick, this week, the opening kickoff was very close out of bounds. He did it last week against Green Bay also. So something's definitely up with him. And when it comes to rookie kickers, it's easy to get in their heads. Um, we'll see what KOC does. Speaking of KOC and the coaching staff, I railed on KOC all night long on Twitter. And again, people didn't like it, and it is what it is. I like KOC, but I just think he's a nicer Mike Zimmer. He, he doesn't adapt his game plans, and I don't expect you to fully change who you are. Um, Kevin O'Connell is not going to run the ball, even though he definitely should. He likes the deep play. And, a couple people said, well, he was scheming people open all night long. And yeah, maybe, but when Sam Darnold's running for his life, it's not going to make a difference. He was shook. And for me, it should have been switched up at halftime. They should have been running more screens, running more draws, running more slants, more crossers. Um, you know, the Lions had a better game plan than the Vikings, and it's just that simple. KOC did not change anything that he does. In a game like that, I think, maybe it's a learning experience for him. I don't think he's been in a game of that magnitude yet, and he's got to learn to adapt. Um, you know, he was probably expecting them to come out and play in more of a zone than the man look that they got, but you got to learn and change on that. You know what I mean? It's just if they're sitting in man-to-man coverage and you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison out there, why are you not running more pick routes? Why are you not running more quick slants? Why are you not running more 10 and outs? Things to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands quickly who is struggling. And it just baffles me that he doesn't do that because he is a smart play caller. He's great with the players and great with quarterbacks. But we've seen this time and time again. This is his third season now, and it has not changed. Sam Darnold's issue is sitting in the pocket too long and hold on to the ball too long. Well, they'll change that. Give him the tools and the plays to not make that. Give him simple reads. They showed one play last night. I think it was a 3rd and 10, and they showed it from behind the quarterback camera angle, and he had 3 routes running because I think Jones or Cam Akers stayed in the block. So you had Hawkinson going out, Addison going out, and Jefferson going out, and they all ran. I don't think 20 yards down the field before they got, before they started breaking their routes. You can't have that. If they're running man and sending blitzers after Darnold, you switch it up. You run quick passes. You get them on the slants and the outs and the pick plays because they're in man coverage. That is so easy to break for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and they just did not take advantage of it. They refused to adapt. Um, and it is what it is. The coaching staff definitely deserves some blame for last night's loss. Um, you know, I think it's Score North who does like a pie chart of blame. KOC is definitely in like the 40% range. The team just was not prepared for that stage. Um, and a lot of people, were, crapping on O'Connell last week for the way the team celebrated after the win against Green Bay. I don't look at that stuff. Let the team celebrate how they want to celebrate. Let the kids have fun, do their thing. But last night they were not prepared for that stage, and that definitely falls on the coaching. Um, Other than that, what are you going to do? You have to take it, flush it, and prepare for the Rams next week. That's going to be a tough one. There's no way around it. I think, people are already looking to that. You saw Dan Campbell after the game say, "Oh, I'll see you in 2 weeks." I don't know. I think this Vikings team is probably going to make an appearance and get bounced. I hope I'm wrong, but from what I saw last night, um, I I don't know which Sam's going to show up. And oh, speaking of the coaching staff, yes, they need to run the ball more. Um, I again, Kevin O'Connell's been like this his entire tenure here. You got to run the ball more, especially against a high-powered offense. You need to keep them off the field when you're, you know, I don't know. They were inside the 23 times, inside the 10 two times, and 11 of those, 9 of those 11 plays were designed passes. That can't happen. Put in some design runs, hand the ball off. You have playmakers. Bounce Akers to the outside instead of running in the middle. Run your counter plays. They were running plays there for the taking, especially in the end zone. Nobody's expecting Sam to bootleg in. Sam bootleg in. Why not? You got to try something different. It just what he did last night didn't work, and he's got to break his tendencies. Um, but yeah, you know, flush it, recoup, prepare for next week, and just go to LA and try to take care of some business. It sucks. It is what it is, but this team's got to bounce back, and we're going to learn a lot about how resilient they are as a team next week after the beating that they took last night. Let's see what happens next Monday. Skull. See you later in the week.